Welcome to BBC News. I'm Kasia Madeira. Israel says it's continuing to launch strikes against Iran after its major offensive began on Friday. Well, Iran has retaliated by firing missiles across Israel. Israel says it's targeted Tehran's air defense capabilities and sites from which Iran can fire ballistic missiles and drones at Israel. Well, several of the salvos fired in return by Iran could be seen and heard in the skies above Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. And it wasn't just the main cities that were targeted. In several towns, there was considerable damage to some buildings. 3 people died in this attack. Images after daybreak revealed the devastation and that Israel's much vaunted air defense system is not foolproof. In Iran, people feel no such security, with their military air defences offering little protection against Israeli airstrikes. Iranian officials saying around 80 people, the majority of them civilians, including children, have been killed. Well, 2 more senior military commanders and 3 more nuclear scientists have also been assassinated. The Israeli army has spoken about opening a path towards Tehran, while the country's defense minister, Israel Katz, has said that the Iranian capital will burn if Iran continues to fire the retaliatory missiles at Israel. Well, our Middle East correspondent Hugo Bachega begins our coverage from Jerusalem.
Iran's response to Israel came at night with about 200 missiles. The military worked to stop them, as millions of Israelis sought shelter. The air raid sirens were still sounding in Tel Aviv when a missile hit. Iran's intention may have been to overwhelm Israel's defenses, and here it did. A residential neighborhood south of Tel Aviv, caught up in this conflict.
This is where the missile hit, completely destroying these houses, and there's a lot of damage all around here. And all morning, emergency services have been inspecting these buildings, with residents coming to rescue whatever they can find.
We have people that die here, and we have between 24 to 26 injured here in the site.
This morning, Iran came under attack again. Here, plumes of smoke rise from Mehrabad airport in Tehran. The Israeli military released these images of what it said were strikes on Iranian missiles ready to be launched. Israel says it wants to damage Iran's nuclear program, but the scale of the attacks could indicate another goal: to topple the regime. For years, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has defended military action against Iran. He is now going ahead with it.
The objective of Israel's military operation is to remove this threat, both the nuclear threat and the ballistic missile threat to Israel. And as we achieve our objectives, we're also clearing the path for you to achieve your objective, which is freedom.
For the leadership in Iran, regime survival has always been a priority.
They should not think that they struck and it's over. We will not allow them to escape unscathed.
For Iran, there are no easy options. A strong response could drag the US into a conflict and be devastating for the country. A muted reaction would be seen as weakness and even defeat. Israel seems to be making a gamble and has suggested this is just the beginning. For the leaders in Iran, this could become an existential battle. Hugo Bachega, BBC News, Jerusalem.
So Hugo Bachega with that report, and we'll hear a little bit more from Hugo in just a moment. But first, we're going to talk to our world news correspondent, Joe Inwood, who joins me live now. And Joe, I know you've been busy monitoring what is happening on the ground. Just in terms of the kind of firepower that Israel needs in order to reach those very deep facilities that Iran has, does Israel have it?
The short answer is no, it doesn't. So just to kind of talk you through the different sort of facilities there are. So there's some of them are relatively close to the surface. Some are on the surface, but there's a couple of them that we know about, or experts say they know about, one called Fordau and a new one that's being built at Mount Kolang. And these are about 80 metres to 100 metres below the surface, and these are under reinforced concrete. And this is one of the reasons that so many people said that a military solution or a military attack to take out the Iranian nuclear program is so difficult, if not impossible, for the Iranians. So there are weapons that can penetrate significant amounts of concrete. There's one that is called the GBU-57B, the possibly more kind of colloquially known as massive ordnance penetrator or a bunker buster. This is saying the Americans have got 30,000-pound bomb that is dropped from a B-2 stealth bomber, and that can get down about 60 metres. Now, if a couple of those could hit the same spot over a number of days, they might be able to get down. The Israelis don't have that. The most penetrating bomb they're thought to have had, there are two they've got. One's called the Rox, or the other one is the Air Laura, and they can get down about 6 metres or so. Now, there has been some footage, I think we can show this now, a 3D graphic that was released by the Israeli military. Now, this shows an attack on the Natanz facility. Now, what you're going to see here is this is released by the Israelis, and this shows one of the facilities they say they have damaged, or they say very badly damaged. It shows an enrichment hall with some centrifuges. And when the facility is this close to the surface, maybe 10 metres below, then it is conceivable that the more limited munitions that the Israelis have could get through. But the more deep ones, the ones they really need to take out if they are going to achieve this stated aim, well, they can't do that without American munitions.
And that's the point, isn't it? Because America says that they knew about this, but they weren't involved in this, and that's critical. And yet, yesterday, we had that line from Donald Trump suggesting that Israel was using capabilities from the US. It's a little bit vague, a little bit difficult to follow.
I think that's a very diplomatic way of putting describing the messages we've been getting from the US. I think often highly contradictory. We had Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, came out almost immediately and said this was unilateral, that they weren't involved, although he did emphasise Israel had a right to defend itself, as they always do. And then we had Donald Trump coming out and saying, in some ways praising it, saying he had known about it in advance. I think most people think that Donald Trump would have given this some sort of, green light or amber light maybe, but there is a difference, and a very crucial military difference, especially when it comes to achieving these aims, between the Americans saying, go for it, and the Americans directly being involved. Because, as I say, they are the ones that have got the capability to destroy these facilities if they wanted to get involved.
Joe, as always, thank you very much for just talking us through it. A lot of different lines there. But Joe Inwood, our World News correspondent, I'll let you get on with just monitoring the latest developments. Thank you so much. Well, Joe, they're just going through the ins and outs and the capabilities that Israel has. We heard previously from Hugo Bachega, his report at the top of the programme. A short time ago, Hugo also joined us from Rishon LeZion, an area which was badly hit by Iran's missiles. Here's what he told us.
So this is the scene here in Rishon LeZion, and let me give you an idea of what's happening here, because this is where the missile hit. So there's a lot of destruction here. All these houses have been completely destroyed, and this gives you an idea of the power of the blast, the power of the attack that happened here. And all morning, residents have been coming here to collect some objects, and you can see here there is a family trying to recover anything they can find in this house that's been completely destroyed. Let me give you a sense of what's happening around here, because there's a lot of destruction all around. And take a look at these cars around me, which are completely destroyed, and also the houses here that have been damaged. So again, gives you an idea of the power of this attack that happened here. It was a very long night of attacks with sirens sounding across the country. I was in Jerusalem, and just before dawn there were loud explosions of air defense systems trying to intercept those missiles that were fired by Iran in this response to those attacks that happened yesterday. The Israeli military saying that around 200 missiles were fired by the Iranian military. So again, a huge large-scale attack by the Iranian military in response to those Israeli attacks that happened yesterday.
Hugo Bachega there from Rishon LeZion, which was, as you can see there, badly hit by one of Iran's missiles.